get ready to throw down.
Team D, Mr. Clint, accountability, Nuggets. What you got?
Yeah, this is probably one of your harder subjects to talk about as a D, because in your world, you probably think that you're completely right and you own everything anyway, and every little bit of failures or because somebody else did something, right? You got to get over that and realize that, especially if you're a part of a team or you're running a team, you've got to know that, how you communicate those goals and those, I need you to be here in a month, and I need you to be here in 2 months, and how you portray that, and can they handle it? All those things don't apply in your world, but they apply in theirs. So communicating all that stuff is hugely important.
All right. Al, Team I?
I think with an I, it's easy to fool yourself into thinking that you're productive and thinking that you're actually working when you're just treading water or wasting time. And to correct that in my own schedule is, like I said, that category that really I bore down on. What did I do at 8 o'clock? What did I do at 8:15, 8:30, 9? How long did all this take? Mm-hmm. And holding yourself accountable to moving through your day as productively as you can. And owning that, owning when you waste time, owning when you were really focused in getting something done, which is so much smaller in the hours and minutes than you think it is. Okay. In most cases for me.
Awesome. Nanette, for S's, as far as accountability?
I love the way you always say awesome. For me, as an S, I think it's really important to think my process through, make sure it's logical, it makes sense, be really secure. I know whenever we work together, being secure, knowing your stuff is hugely important, because when you have confrontation, then it won't backfire. You're gonna be on task. You're gonna know what you're talking about. So for me, that's everything in my plan, is just being secure with it. You normally say awesome.
I was just saying that wasn't an awesome.
I'm thinking about it. I need to marinate on that a little bit, right? Because I think that ties into my, speaking to like Team C people, mm-hmm. right? This episode has been somewhat enlightening for me, because I get so much joy out of the idea that here are the behaviors I have to do, and I have these lined out, and this is building towards my plan, and then I can shut it off and just go do my merry way, as opposed to feeling like I've got to be on all the time. I got to be selling to everybody and trying to close everybody and stuff like this. And that's how I operated and felt and ran forever, right? Like at the Kung Fu school, everyone was always talking about how John was like a sales guy, right? And that was really just meaning that I was the annoying guy who was trying to push like banking products and cell phone products on everybody I knew, because it was just, I had this outlook of limitations. I got to close everybody. When I learned about KPIs and planning and all of these things, and managing my behaviors and not managing the outcomes, I didn't even realize how much of a C idea that is until like we're having this conversation right here, right? I thrive in that environment, and C's do. The thing to remember is that if you're a C and you're leading a team, think about how much that didn't resonate with everybody else around the table, right? Of like building a plan and building weekly behaviors and then adjusting and then holding people accountable to that kind of stuff. Not micromanaging, but, building some agreements and holding people accountable. I live in that world, right? I'm an accountability partner for like 4 or 5 people, right? Because they're like, man, I'm struggling with this. Call me.
You're a babysitter.
I don't know necessarily that. Hold on, we'll talk about that in a second. So just be aware that as a C, you're going to love this stuff and the numbers and the process, but like not everybody is. So you got to figure out a way so that way they can build their own, right? To Clint's point, right? They're going to buy into the plan that they help you build, right? Where if you just show up and say, this is the plan, this is what we're doing, and you don't give them any input, super easy for them to like autopilot the crap out of that thing and then throw their hands up whenever it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So to your point, right, outside of Throwdown real quick, because I think that this is important, I think accountability takes a bunch of different forms, right? You can hold yourself accountable, right, to your calendar or to like your to-do list or anything else like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with having an accountability partner that you're sharing, hey, look, these are the things I did this week. What did you do, right? But I think it's got to go both ways.
As long as it makes you more efficient.
Absolutely.
There's a line.
Sure.
There's a line.
Yeah.
When I'm doing more paperwork and writing more stuff down and creating more goals instead of doing the actual task, right? So in my world, there's a very strict line of all of this isn't worth me just going and doing it. right? So you can talk about shit all day long, but until you actually go do it.
Absolutely, right? I mean, when I have accountability conversations with the people that are holding me accountable or vice versa, there's already a bunch of like legwork already done, right? Hey, what are my goals? What am I doing to get there, and everything else like this. And then for me personally, I don't want to get on and tell this person who like knows me and obviously cares enough about me to like try to hold me accountable that I didn't do these things, right? And then there's things like Stick, right? Which is like an online community, and you can build traps around yourself. We didn't really talk about this today, but there's like a thing called accountability traps, right? So if you're on the KPI train and you're thinking about KPIs and weekly behaviors and activities and stuff like that, you can frame that stuff inside a Stick, right? You get an accountability partner, and one of my accountability partners, and I did this for a while, he had his weekly counts as far as cold calling and networking and reaching out to people and stuff like this. If he didn't meet those numbers, he had to donate money to a cause he saw no value in, actually really, really didn't like. And so that made him really kind of stick to his plan and follow his process. And then you have to adjust as necessary, of course. But, you know, it's not, in my world, when I'm having these accountability calls, it's not like well, let's take an hour and talk about how your week was. Did you do it or not?
Yeah.
And if not, why? And what does that mean for next week?
Yeah, and the reason I said what I said is because you tell an I, especially a super I, that you have to do all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go, I need you to sit at the desk and I need you to write all this stuff out every day. When he fails, you just made an excuse for him.
Absolutely.
I didn't have time to go do all this stuff that I normally do. And, you know, I used to kill it before you made me do all this stuff. So
you're speaking my language, man.
You got to know. You know.
As a CRM guy who's working with like mostly sales teams with like a lot of eyes.
That's the first thing I would want to say to you.
Is that it's just like, I have to spend time with management to figure out, hey, what can we give these guys for like a motivator to like actually
what will they actually
steak knives?
Steak knives, yeah.
Well, what will they actually do versus what will they use as an excuse to fail?
Right? Absolutely, right. So,
because if you tell them that they got to do this and they fail because they were spending their time doing it, that's your sword to fall on.
There's this guy that I follow and I love, and he talks about that if you don't track your behaviors, even if you crush the month, right, you lose half your commission because there's an agreement in place, right? You're going to do certain things, you're going to follow your activities and everything else, and not be just results focused. And I love that, right?
I know you do.
I love that so much.
I'd be like, give me half my money.
I just want to win.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you keep the rest of it because it makes you feel better that I didn't turn in the paperwork.
Great. Following the process.
Right. Yeah. There we go. All right, Mr. Professor.
Yeah. I'd say
they're so much smarter than me because they put their shit down. Right on. Go with that. That's why you're in academics. Keep it up.
That's why this podcast is so much fun to me, though, is because we're not saying that this is the one avenue to do that.
Oh,
right?
For sure. And there's 1,000 ways of getting it done.
That is the fun part.
Yeah.
Because we all like have decent lives here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I would fail miserably at trying to be John. I would. I'd be just a horrible C.
Yes, you would.
Imagine that, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not on paper? Well, it's right up here in the old noggin.
You couldn't work for me. Right?
I don't want to.
I know you don't, right?
Because I wouldn't hire you.
Yeah, well, there is that, right? I mean, we would get to this accountability part of the conversation, and I'd be like, "Hey, Al, like, okay, let's build out your weekly plan," and you'd be like, "Man, I'm just gonna kill it," and I'd be like, "Nah, I'd go."
That's his.
So let's wrap up before we get down on like another tangent.
I can go down another 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So
alrighty.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Post podcast banter there.
For sure. If you know anybody else in sales who's struggling, please share this with them. It's hard enough. You don't have to be out there by yourself. If you need an accountability partner, find one. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the same company. Yeah, call me, right? Send me an email, John@Sales Throwdown. If you need some accountability help, I will help you, or I'll find someone to help you out.
He'll call me.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, do you want to meet Al? He's a great accountability partner.
You're blowing it up. Great job. Keep it up.
Awesome. So share this with everyone. If you're following us on social media, that's great. Share it, please. Everything is @Sales Throwdown. If you don't know where you are or what team you're on, Team I, Team C, Team D, Team S, send us an email, assessments@salesthrowdown.com, and we'll get you hooked up. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye.